For now, let's get on with the show.
Good day to you. It is I, Andrew, from the Property Doctor podcast. This week I'm going to reheat a previous interview from season 1 with my friend Perry Wilson, who has a channel called Stupid as the Norm. It's one of my favourite YouTube channels. Perry, if you don't know, was a taxi driver on minimum wage who wanted to have £1 million within 10 years to retire on, and he was 57, I think, when he started. Anyway, so you'll find out all about Perry in this forthcoming episode. You can check it out on the audio version, but I was lucky to record this, and I might scatter a few of these, video episodes that I managed to record last year throughout the channel as we progress through the year. So, hope you enjoy it. See you next time. So, on this week's episode of the Property Doctor podcast, it's a bit of a pinch me moment because I've got somebody as a guest which I've been wanting to get on for a long time. I've followed his stuff right from the very beginning. It's a fellow called Perry Wilson, and he has a YouTube channel called Stupid as the Norm, where he gives excellent financial tips and common sense that isn't taught in schools to anybody who will listen, and I even get my kids to watch it. So I'll hand over to Perry to say hello, but thank you very much for joining me today, Perry. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you very much for inviting me on your show, and a big hello to all your listeners.
Fantastic stuff. So, like I said there, I've been following your stuff right from the very beginning. In particular, I think I resonate with you because you started off this journey, in inverted commas, that you're on to try and become wealthy, but you didn't arrive at the start of this road until you were kind of later on in your life, shall we say. You'd already had several years as a career before that, similar to me, but admittedly, I'm not so much, but slightly younger than when you started. So because of that, I resonate with you, and I've followed all your stuff since. So do you mind me asking, why did it take so long for you to get this blinding flash on the road to Damascus?
I'm sort of blushing now because I was a complete idiot. That's why. I've got a high opinion of myself, and I think that's probably true of a lot of people. I thought if I do, and I was good at some good jobs. I wasn't good at some good jobs. I wasn't completely useless. I spent 12 years in the Navy, which pretty much formed my character. So what I learned from that was hard work, and you work 24 hours a day. And I thought if I would just work hard, then I'll become a millionaire. That somewhere down the line, the universe would recognize my genius and just say, Perry, look at you've worked hard and long enough. Here's £1 million. Thanks. Just go away and enjoy, ride off into the sunset, enjoy your retirement. And I got to 55 after countless jobs. Genuinely countless. People remind me of some of the things I've done because I've been forgotten. And people used to greet me who I hadn't seen for a long time and say, "Hi, Perry, what you doing now?" Because I was always doing something different. Right. I was always looking for chasing the bonny flower, and like a butterfly, and looking for the next get rich scheme or whatever. And of course they don't exist, and so they never worked. And I got to 55 after being a complete idiot all my life and wasting my time and trying the patience of my wife and my daughters in the meantime. I got to 55, and what happens when you're 55 is you're able to take some personal pensions that you might have left along the way. If you go from job to job, you join the pension scheme, and so you're there for a year, then you disappear, or you do if you're like me. That's what I do, because I get bored very quickly. And so at 55, I think 2 pension companies wrote to me and said, "Dear Mr. Wilson, you have a pension with us. Where would you like to take it now?" And I thought, "Oh, excellent." And I had a look, and between the two of them, there was about £3,500. So at this stage, I was working behind a bar on minimum wage. I had £10,000 of the credit card debt, and all I had to my name was £3,500. And I thought, I genuinely thought in my 20s that when I got to 55, I'd be a bit further ahead than I am now.
Yes.
So I was at a net loss. I was essentially insolvent, I guess, other than the equity I had built up my house that I live in, my residential home. So I was 55 on minimum wage. And what do I do with these £3,500? I generally can't remember what I did with £3,500 that was left in these pension pots, but I took it anyway. And true to character, like I've done all my life, I must have blown it because I didn't have it a couple of years later. So I probably did what most idiots do, was to say, look, Perry, you're 55, you deserve a rest. Let's go on holiday in for 2 weeks and we'll blow it there, which is probably what I did. So you'd think that would be a big enough kick of the backside at 55, but I didn't actually do anything about it until I was 57. And I think what happened at 57 was that when you get to my age, retirement age is 67. So when I got to 57, I thought, damn, I've got 10 years left. 10 years, and when it's gone, it's gone. It was a finite deadline. I couldn't go past it. It's when 67 came, that was my old age pension. I couldn't add any more years onto it. And so I was stuck. So I thought, dear God, what am I going to do here? And I need to do something. And I was on minimum wage, so clearly I need to generate more income. So, well, I was working in a bar. I did the night shift from 5:30 to half midnight. And I said, what to do? Well, it gives me the day off. I need to generate some more income. So I thought about what can I do during the daytime. It's quite flexible. And I came upon the idea of being a cab driver. So I said, right, so I can be a cab driver during the daytime. So I went to meet a few companies and decided on a company. And so my new work day went from 7 o'clock in the morning till about 4 o'clock on a cab. And then I went to the pub at 5:30 and worked there at half midnight. And I did that for about 3 months. Now, here's something interesting here, is that when you double the amount of hours you work in an hourly paying job, your income doubles. I would just want to let that sit there, because a lot of people, it's obvious, blindingly obvious. But what I did was I doubled my salary. Now, it didn't mean that I had to double the amount of hours worked, but that's what you can do. It's one of the benefits of having an hourly rate job. People often poo-poo them. I work for McDonald's and I get this rate. Yeah, but you can work some overtime and you're in charge of how much you earn. So I just doubled my income. So I thought, well, this is a step in the right direction. Now what do I want to do with the money? So now I was living off one wage and I was investing the other wage. So that was the very first step on my path to freedom, if you wish, to being a millionaire. And my goal at the time wasn't be a millionaire. My goal was, I sat and thought to myself, okay, in 10 years time, what would I have to be doing in order for me to know that I was wealthy? And for someone who wanted to be wealthy for years and years and years, and a millionaire for even longer, it took me a long time to come to a conclusion. What the conclusion I come to was that if I, in 10 years time from the day I started, was sat on a luxury yacht in the Mediterranean, sipping a vodka martini as the sun went down on some Greek island, I would feel wealthy. And that's important, because wealth is just a number. It's a different number to different people. If you've never had any money all your life and I give you 10 grand, you'd feel wealthy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be wealthy compared to Elon Musk. So wealth is more of a feeling. So I thought, what do I feel? So yes, sat in that yacht. So I says, okay, I went on the internet and I looked at yachts, 50-foot yachts, and how much would it cost? And I reckon I could get a second hand for 100,000. How much would it cost to live on it? Say 200,000. So I set myself a target of making 300,000 in 10 years. Fast forward 3.5 years, and I'm going to stop talking a second.
All right.
Fast forward 3.5 years, and I changed my goal to £1 million in 10 years. Why? I think because when you're £10,000 in credit card debt and you're on minimum wage and you have no savings, £300,000 was the most I could imagine. I think if I was to say, Perry, you're going to be a millionaire in 10 years, I would have said, well, A, I don't believe it, and B, I can demonstrate, I have proof that I don't believe it. I have evidence. I've got 55 years worth of evidence that I won't be a millionaire in 10 years' time, because I've said that every decade for the last 50 years. So I know I wouldn't believe it. So the number I came up with was believable to me, which was £300,000. 3.5 years into the game, I now look at it and think, I was being extremely conservative. And now, because I have a better understanding how investment works, how money works, what I'm capable of, and therefore what anybody is capable of, I can make £1 million in 10 years. So I thought, what I'll do is I'll video myself doing it for a couple of reasons. First of all, because it will give me some structure, some discipline. If I was to go and make videos and say I'm going to do it in 10 years and I record how I do it, it will keep me on track, because it's easy to come off track. It's easy to become lazy. But I thought if people are asking me and want to update all the time, it will keep me moving forward. And the second reason for absolutely, and the second reason I want to do it is because I wanted to demonstrate, which is all my channels about, that I can demonstrate how anybody can become wealthy providing you're able to work. Anybody, and I genuinely believe that. And when people say, well, you can't, I say, well, check the videos out, because I'm doing it. And that was the whole reason for doing it. And I guess rather like you and I had a chat before we started recording. We both come from, if you wish, humble backgrounds. And I've got to be careful of that, because everybody says they come from a humble background, don't they? We're both ex-council house. We're both ex-council house lads. We live in working class areas, and you're doing very well for yourself, more academically qualified than I am. But again, we're from humble stock, and if we can do it, then anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, so do I, absolutely. And I think one of the things that comes across in your channel is that it's not easy. I mean,
No,
I mean, just what you said there, I doubled my income. Oh yeah, well that sounds amazing. How can you double your income overnight? Well, you work twice the hours. Oh no.
I work 80 hours a week. That's two full-time jobs. That's how you do it.
Oh no, I'm not going to work twice the hours. No, that doesn't sound sexy. Nobody wants to get rich slow. Everybody wants to get rich quick, which is why all these scams and schemes do so well, because that appeals. But I mean,
so let me put a caveat in there, then, Andrew. You made a good point there. Anybody can become wealthy, providing they're able to work. But I'll tell you the reason why that 99% of people won't. For the three reasons, actually. The first one is time. It will not happen overnight. It will take 10 years if you want to be a millionaire. I think to be a millionaire, 10 years. And most people aren't prepared to work 10 years. When people say they want to be wealthy, what they mean is they want to be wealthy now.
Yes.
Not 10 years time. Now they want it. And when you tell them it's going to take 10 years, they say, oh, we can't be bothered with that. The second reason is that it takes sacrifice. Because if you're not a millionaire now, it's because you're not doing the right things. And if you have to do the right things, that means changing your habits, changing your lifestyle. And that's hard, and you'll have to make sacrifices. You'll have to maybe give up Netflix. I don't, because I piggyback off my daughters. But
they're not happy about that, by the way. I don't know.
No, they're not. They're going to change that soon. Yeah, bastards. So you have to change your lifestyle. It might mean working hard. It might mean not going on holiday for 10 years. And again, people say, well, I don't want to do that. And the other thing is it's hard work. So there's three. It's time, sacrifice, and hard work. And people, as you touched on there, if you go on these scammers and you say, here's three easy ways to make £1 million, absolute tosh. There's no easy way to do it. It is hard work. And if anybody tells you it's not hard work, they're trying to sell you something that isn't worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all trying to sell you a dream, because the preying on your on
laziness,
your desires.
it's human
laziness. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but
we're all lazy. If I found a way to do it in 5 years, I would do it. The reality is, I don't think I can do it. I've never had anybody show me otherwise.
No, absolutely. And I'm a big kind of believer in the comfort zone. A lot of people, and I might be an incorrect observation, but from what you said there, you got to 55 and thought, bloody hell. But that's probably because you, like I was, you're in the comfort zone. You've got enough money to pay the bills. You don't see the credit card debt stacking up, and time ticks by and you're comfortable in your existence. And then all of a sudden you realize there's an end point coming. What's going to happen? Something happens, whether you don't like your job or whether you're really heading for financial distress, but something moves you out of that comfort zone, and that's when things change. But it takes something quite big in order to get people motivated enough to do something that lasts
on a massive scale.
for a long time.
I got a huge shock, as I said, when I got to realize I had 10 years left. We've all got this hourglass. And none of us know how much sand is left in the top bit, and it's a worry. we live in the middle bit, which is the present, and the bottom bit is past and it's gone. It's not worth worrying about. But none of us know how much is left in the top. So I would implore people not to leave it as long as I have, because you may not have much sand left, or less sand than me. We don't know. So it's important to do something about it now, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it came. I had I got referred to the GMC. I got investigated by the General Medical Council for something to do with paperwork. Absolutely nothing to do with patients. Nobody got harmed. Absolutely nothing. But I got referred to the GMC for something about paperwork. And my insurance company, my medical defence, said, "Oh, you do realise, Dr. Threadgill, that people get struck off for this?" And I thought, "You what? You know, for signing a bit of paper?" And so then I'm thinking, well, I've been a GP for a while. I've got decent income. I live in a nice place. I've got nice stuff. Who's going to pay the bills if I get struck off? How am I going to? What transferable skills have I got? And then that's planted the seed that took several years to grow into a realization that actually you need to be able to generate income in other ways in order to have a lifestyle and not be beholden to the job and all the rest of it that you talk about in your channel. So yeah, it really opens your eyes when you get onto these get onto this journey, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Something similar happened to me only this month actually, where I was sued for damages by someone, and the reason I was sued rather than my business partner was because they knew I had assets.
Right.
And and although they only consist of 3 houses that I've bought on my journey, 3 buy-to-let properties, they knew about me because of my channel, and rather than sue my partner because he didn't have any assets, they sued me, and that became that was another massive shock. And it's part of the journey. And one of the things you learn is that there are people out there who may be in a position to take all you've worked for away from you for really not for spite sometimes. And sometimes you get scammed yourself. You get people who make allegations against you. Very rich people get this all the time, and they have to pay the money rather than go to court, even though they're not guilty of saying the things they say they've said, and it's called nuisance money. They just pay the money to get rid of it, and so you become a bit of a target. And one of the things that I learned from that was that I could have lost everything I'd built up thus far in the 3.5 years on my journey just by someone being a bit spiteful. So going forward, I'm going to stop buying properties through a limited company just to protect myself. Yeah. But even when you've got it, if you wish, you look at the success that you had and look at the relative success I had, it can be taken away by someone for who's either spiteful or, in your case, just for some admin. And it's crazy. Life can change over some admin. And you really have to protect yourself. So that's something I've learned in the last month.
Yeah. Has it ended? Are you sorted from that?
Yeah. We came to an agreement.
Right. Okay.
I can't tell you more about for legal purposes.
Yeah. Don't want to know, especially not on this. Yeah. Well, again, I feel for you there. I mean, that's again, it's a lesson. If you're not earning, you're learning.
Absolutely.
That's the yeah.
That's absolutely right. You keep moving forward.
Yeah. That's it. Life has ups and downs. There are bumps in the road. As long as you keep your eyes planted on the goal at the end, and just keep moving. And I think it'd
be so easy just to fail, and to mark that down as a failure. If it probably was a failure because I wasn't aware of it. But if when you make mistakes, it's just a mistake. It's not catastrophic. It's not the end of the world. Worrying about making mistakes and failing prevents a lot of people from trying. But you should never be afraid of failure. Failure is part of life. You can't go through life and not fail. I don't know anybody's done that. It's how you deal with the failures that drives a person on, that decides who's going to be successful and who's not. So both of you and I did over your admin and me being sued for damages was you learn from that. You don't just say, that's it, I'm giving up, I'm not going to buy another property because there's a chance or somebody will just take it away from me. That's not what you do. You've learned from it. You're going to fix that problem, make sure nobody's able to do that again. Exactly. It's this attitude of failure that's important.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if you follow football, but Gary Neville does a a thing on YouTube, and he has a little segment when he's interviewing sports people, and it's "Failure is a bruise, not a tattoo." And that sticks with me, that, because I quite, I kind of resonate with that as well.
I think I heard him say one time. He said, "If you're going to fall forward. At least it's progress."
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to come on a little bit there because you mentioned, obviously, this episode where you've just got sued, and I'm really into mindset at the minute. I've never really read books before, but I'm all over them at the minute, and I'm reading lots of books on mindset and trying to just recover 40 years of ignorance by feeding myself when I'm driving the car. So, could you describe what it is that's driving you? Is it the end goal? Or because when you get these ups and downs, what makes you keep going? Because it would be so easy to just quit.
I've always been, you know what, I'd love to say that I've developed this character that I am now, this person that I'm now, but I think a lot of it comes back to this nature and nurture. What is it that forms your character? And psychologists can't agree, but they all agree that it's at least 50% nature. That is, your character is largely made up of your genes, and so if you look at some examples, everybody uses people like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs, and the like, Warren Buffett. These guys are genetic freaks. You're not replacing. You're not getting another Elon. Doesn't matter if you study Elon Musk's life. You're not going to be Elon Musk because he's a genetic freak. These are people with that. He was probably 80% made that way and 20% nurture. So I've always been a hard worker. I think the forces probably reinforce that. And they always, the statement they give the forces, you're not paid by the hour, you're paid by the day, and it's 24 hours in a day, which gives them the right to shake anytime, day and night, and you start work.
What did you do in the Navy?
I was a hydrographic surveyor, so I was a petty officer, and I make charts for the seabed. So I spent 12 years on ocean research ships making Admiralty charts.
Right.
It was a fantastic job, but then I got married and had my first child, and going away to sea for 6 months at a time kind of lost its luster. But fantastic job, and I heartily recommend it to any single person. Don't join the forces. Don't join the infantry. You get shot. Anything else? Anything else? Just go and don't love it. It's great fun. So I love hard work. I admire anybody who's hardworking. It's the biggest compliment I can pay someone to say they're a grafter.
Yeah.
And so what keeps, so I'm normal that way anyway. I'm an insomniac, which is great because it means I don't need an awful lot of sleep. And I didn't read a book on that. I was just genetically born not needing a lot of sleep. So I'm just kind of lucky that way. And that when you look at, so I'm lucky that I'm an insomniac. I'm lucky I was born with a hard work and that sort of attitude. I'm lucky that I was born with a positive nature. I'm lucky that I was born white. I'm lucky that I'm male and not female. And when you look at all the lot of luck that it does take to make up that character, I'm not stupid, by the way. So I'm let's say intelligent as well. There's a lot of luck in there, and very little of that was my doing. That was pure genetics. And so maybe one of the reasons is that lots of people don't become wealthy. They're just not lucky. Just didn't have those genetics there. I don't mean luck in terms of meeting people in the right place, right time. I mean just genetically lucky to have that mix of character that allows you to do that. And that's not to be underestimated.
And lucky with health in order to be able to keep working the hours
another one.
We're putting in.
100%. Yeah, I'm a cab driver, as I've said. I pick up people from hospital all the time, and some people just seem to have way too much health issues, way too many health issues, more than they deserve. And then I'm driving and thinking, well, I've never had anything wrong with me. I'm just dead lucky. Again, all my relatives all live until their 80s. They all go crackers, by the way. They don't die of anything, they just go nuts. So I probably look, so unless they find a cure for dementia, I've got that to look forward to. That's coming my way. But you're right, health is another one in there. Just lucky. Yeah. But and then knowledge, and then you've got to build knowledge, of course. Then the other thing is, so you've got this genetic side here, but you need knowledge. What stops people from making the next step is they don't know how to do it. And you can either read a book on that, or watch videos. I hope watching Stupid is the Norm, and listen to podcasts like you put out, Andrew, and that's how you teach yourself.
Yeah.
I'm reading a book by a guy called Lee Kuan Yew, who was the ex-leader of Singapore, and looking at the way he transformed Singapore from, it was a swamp, it was a stinky swamp, and he made it what it was. And so I'm just learning from him. So I'm 50. No, I'm 61. I'm 57 anymore. I'm 61 this year. And I'm learning from a guy who ran Singapore. And then, but then that's the value of your podcasts and YouTube and books, is you can learn from other people's mistakes and then not make those mistakes yourself. And hopefully import those into your own life.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of books, like I say, I've never been read. My wife would say this. The only book I'd ever read was a book when I was a kid called Sailor the Salmon, and then I went on holiday and I read Charles Manson's autobiography, and those are the only books I've ever read. Yeah, because I'm a bit like that, It explains a lot. But recently, I don't even listen to the radio. I've got audiobooks all the time. I go through one a week, and one that I went through last week was called 3 Feet from Gold, and it's a book that's built on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And one of the phrases that you hear all the time on Instagram or YouTube is you'll be the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
And
there's some truth in that. There's definitely some truth. I put it another way, and I've said to my friends, you become like the people you mix with. And you see that everywhere, and your mum knew that. Your mum wouldn't let you go and play on the streets with those boys over there because they're not nice boys, and you will become a nice. You'll be just like them, because we're herd animals, and we want to be accepted by the herd because it's safe being in the herd. You don't want to leave the herd because there's lions, tigers, and bears out there. If you stay with the herd, you're going to be safe. So we do adapt ourselves to become like the people we mix with, and it's both a danger and it's important as well, because you can't, as you say, if you raise your game, mix with different people, you will adapt to them, become like them too.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of herd animals, there's another book. I don't know if you've read this one. It's called The Chimp Paradox. And it's by Prof. Steve Fields, and he's a Middlesbrough lad, and obviously I live in Middlesbrough. So, but he's a professor of psychiatry, and he's come up with this idea that there's 3 elements to the brain, and he simplifies it in a way that anybody can understand. And one element that's so strong, why we react and have emotions the way we do, is the chimp part of it, and it just responds without you being able to control it. So, which is why sometimes you'll wake up in the morning and feel guilty, and that's your chimp, fighting you. Sometimes somebody will cut you up in the car and you'll be aggressive or angry, and then you'll regret it later. You'll feel guilty about it, and that's because it's a chimp. So never try and arm wrestle a chimp. And the chimp likes to be in herd, to be in a troop, because if you look at chimps, they're all together, and that's what the chimp likes to do. And that's why we behave like that when we're young kids or young lads. They all wear the same. They all have the same trainers. They all go to the same places because they're trying to fit
be different.
Yeah.
And because you're different, people will pick on you. You don't want that.
Exactly. You'll stand out from the troop, and no, you don't want to be a chimp on your own. That's the. Yeah. So, do you any other books that you've read that have interested you?
I started. I'm an avid reader. I read lots and lots of books. And on YouTube as well, you can get some of the more famous books, and you'll get sort of 10 takes from them, 10 points from the most important points, which condenses the book down to about 50 minutes, which is about my attention span.
All right.
But I started on. There's lots of them. Yeah. So if you the first book I started reading was a guy which I don't think is available anymore. It's a guy called Shad Helmstetter. I remember that was a funny name, and he said it was a book called What You Say When You Talk to Yourself. Right. And he said, and it was an extremely important book to me, where what your own language to yourself in particular can control how you behave. And he says we say things to ourselves in our head that we wouldn't say to our worst enemies. oh, you're useless. What's the point in bothering anymore? I can't be bothered to do that. And you talk yourself into things, normally bad things. And then he kind of changed things like, oh, I've got simple things like, oh, there's a big problem to us. Instead of saying a big problem, just say we have a challenge. Got a challenge here, guys. And it might be, there might be just little nuances, but it makes a difference to your brain. Your brain accepts things in a more positive fashion when you tell it things in a certain way. So that was a great book. And there's another book I remember, which I still got a copy of it, called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Right.
And if you're following the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, or any sort of guru, they'll always tell you to save 10% of your income. And I've always believed if you want to get any advice that is purest, you go to the source of where it originally come from. In this book, The Richest Man in Babylon, it's an allegorical tale about olden days biblical Babylon, about a chariot maker. And he says in there, the first thing you do is take 10% of your income on and put it away. And he also says in there, you pay yourself first, which is another sort of FIRE mantra, pay yourself first. So it's a great little book. It's intriguing to read because it's written as a story rather than presenting you with facts and figures and graphs, which isn't suitable for everyone. And I'd hardly recommend everyone buy that book. That's one of the things that got me started on how easy it is. No, I hate the word easy. How simple it is in order to become wealthy if you follow some basic financial fundamentals.
Yeah.
And the bedrock is you save some of your money as much as you can, and you save it first before you start paying other people.
Yeah, and following that on, actually, it's a nice segue into the path that you're taking with property, and one of the phrases that I've heard you use several times in your videos is the suck. You've got to get through the suck. So where did that originate from? Where did you pick that up, and what's your experience of the suck?
Look, I generally can't remember, and if somebody can find it out for me, if somebody said it before me, then I will mention his name in my videos. The thing is, I watch loads of videos and read lots of books, and some of it sticks, and so I look at some of it and say, well, I wouldn't say it that way, I'd say it this way. So if I didn't make it up myself, which is probably true because I haven't got an original thought in my head, so I probably nicked it from somebody else. But
they're all
no, exactly right. Yeah, it's just regurgitating other people's, more intelligent and wiser people's stuff.
Yeah.
But the suck to me is, look, I will be a millionaire in 10 years or 6.5 years as it is now, if I keep on doing what I'm doing. But that doing what I'm doing starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it doesn't stop till 4 o'clock at night. And then I might I'll go for a run, and then I'll go shoot a video, and so I go to bed at 8 o'clock at night because I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And essentially, that's my life for 10 years. It's not very exciting, but I make about £80 a day, saving £80 a day from property and income. So every day is £80 to me. It's not an awful lot of money, but it's 2.5 grand a month. And when I save up 2.5 grand a month and I get a £22,000, £22,000, I buy another house. But it takes me a year to get there. So the suck to me is getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, going to bed at 8 o'clock, and doing that for 10 years. And that's the suck that everybody's got to get to. And again, it comes back to when people say, just do this. And I've made £5,000 in 2 weeks. Bollocks. Nobody does that. It's a complete scam. Believe me, I know I've tried it. You've got to get through the suck. Everybody has to get through the suck. It's not easy. Even what you're doing with service departments. I've had work for someone at service departments on the quayside here in Newcastle, and they got trashed every weekend. And so you had to go in there on a Monday morning, clean it up, and there was puke everywhere. But he was making 1,500 quid a week from it, But it's the suck, isn't it? You've got this suck that comes. It's attached to every job, every lifestyle. We've all got to get through the suck in order to get to that goal at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah,
that's the hard work that can't be avoided. It generally can't be avoided.
Yeah, and I mean you're absolutely right with service accommodation. It is where other property strategies, if you like, are reasonably passive. Nothing's passive. Just for anybody listening that thinks anything in property is passive, none of it is. Some are less effort than others, but they are still effort.
Yes.
But things like buy-to-lets, if you get a good tenant in, they can be reasonably, after you've set them up, they can be reasonably labour unintensive. But
Yes.
service accommodation is a business, and it needs pruning and watering every single day, lots of effort in marketing, lots of effort cleaning and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But the returns, if you do it right or you get a good run, the returns are quite nice.
And you're
So
quite right. And it's something I would like to get into. It's, talking about strategies. That's something I'd like to get into further down the line. But you need a base first, and that's my buy-to-let properties. And I often hear people say, I want to get a property investment. I want to buy a house cheap. Well, first of all, there's your problem, buying a house cheap. Why would anybody sell you a house cheap? I mean, there are reasons, there are literally genuine reasons where somebody would do that, motivated sellers. But generally, you're buying a house cheap because nobody wants it. It's a pile of crap and a scummy part of the earth, And so you want to buy it, and then you want to refurb it, and then you've got to sell it and market it. And I tell them that's not property investing. That's a job.
Yeah, it is.
If you're going to go and do that and tart it up and knock walls down and put bathrooms and kitchens, that's a job. That's not property investment. I do property investing as much as I can. It's hands off as much as I can. But I get somebody to find a property for me, and I pay him for it. He's the same guy who manages it for me because he's a well-established letting agent. The tenants don't ring me; they ring him. He'll just ring me and say the bath needs fixing. It's 30 quid. Shall we do it? Yes, go ahead and do it. And then that's me as a property investment. I don't do anything. And to me, that's investing. I work 60 hours a week as a cab driver, Andrew. I generally don't have enough time to do another job.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't do what you do. But maybe when I make enough income from the buy-to-let properties, which right now is about £1,300 a month, then I've got a bigger pile, then I will go into service accommodation.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would recommend exploring it.
Yes, definitely.
Because just like you can pay somebody to manage your buy-to-lets, you can pay someone to manage your service accommodation and take all the kind of marketing and everything out of it. But there is, I've noticed since we've been doing it that there is in the margin between doing it yourself and fully automated, in that margin there is a huge industry. There's
Definitely
massive sharks and all sorts of things set up in that space to try and eat your profit off you. And that's the trick, is navigating that gap and getting the balance right.
And the reason is it appears in property more than any other investment is because the profits are so big. You don't get in pensions. No, people don't try to say I've got a good pension for you, and they're going to rip you off because pensions. There's no money in pensions.
Yeah.
That's another scam. That's another scam. That's for the average person. Work 40 years of your life and retire in half pay. Wow, that's something to look forward to. That. And if you're looking, if you've repaid your mortgage, then you live with relatively few living costs. But if you haven't paid your mortgage, now you've gone half paid, you've still got to pay your mortgage, mate.
Yeah.
Or you've got rent to pay. It's a sad, sorry lifestyle, but that's what the financial sector sell you, that lifestyle. Work for 40 years, retire in half pay. What? You're kidding me?
Yeah. But that's it. That's the mindset that people are in. And also they can't see it. People cannot see it. I speak to people at work and I'm about to take my pension and all the rest of it. And I think, that shouldn't be the goal. The goal should not be retiring on your pension. That should be the last resort. The pension is the safety net if you're still in your pension.
Your pension's there to stop you starving to death.
Yes.
That's what it is.
It's not there for your goal. Why work all your bloody life for that to be your goal?
Absolutely. 100%.
No. And obviously I'm preaching to the choir. But so how is it going for you then at the minute then? So you want to be a millionaire in 6.5 years? Are you going to get there?
Definitely. So a little snapshot where I am now. I work 60 hours a week as a cab driver. It generates me enough income to pay all the household bills and save about £1,300 a month from there. I have 3 buy-to-let properties. It took me 2 years to save the first deposit. So I buy properties that are worth or were worth now, because of rising house prices, they're getting more expensive to buy. But the first two I bought were coincidentally £63,000, and I buy like you. I buy on Teesside. They were in Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
One in Norton, one in Stockton, and 63,000 got me a 2-bed semi in one case and a 3-bed terrace in another case. They rent for about, well, they do not for about, they rent at £550 a month. I pay a £50 management fee, £87 mortgage. I'd come up with about 400 quid a month on each of them.
Wow.
And I've got another property in Durham, and that's pretty much the same. So I make about £1,200 a month profit from those 3 properties. But it took me 2 years, and here's the time element. It took me 2 years working 80 hours a week, 70 hours a week. I only work 60 hours now. Bit of a slack arse.
Bloody part-time.
Yeah, I know. But I was working it, so it took me 2 years at 80 hours a week to save the first 20,000.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
that's
there's
again,
the
that's
suck.
what
That is
that's
the
what you
suck.
have. There's the suck. That's what you've got to prepare to do. 7 days a week I was working. Oh, again, I only work 6 now. But so that's the suck to get through. That took me 2 years. Of course, it doesn't take you that long for the second one, because then you've got £400 a month extra coming in from that first property. And so now I'm 3.5 years in, and I've got 3 properties. So I save 1,300 from my cabbing, and I save 1,200. So I save about £2,500 a month, which in the tracks I'm on just means as soon as I get £22,000 thereabouts, I just buy another house.
Yeah.
Something magical happens about the 8th property, because when you get to 8 properties, you're now making 3,200 if they're all rented, of course, or thereabouts. So £400 times 8, 3,200 a month, and there's enough income there to buy 2 properties a year. So those 8 houses generate enough income to buy 2 properties, which means that from the 9th property onwards, I can keep the cash. It becomes self-generating.
Right.
So the 8 properties just keep on chucking out enough to buy 2 properties a year, and I can keep all the cash from the 9th property up to the 20th, which is my target, and plus the money I'd make from cabbing, I can keep the £1,200 there. So the way I think it's going to work out, and nothing is certain, I think by the time I get to 7 years time, 6.5 years time, my million will look like 600,000, 20 properties with £600,000 of equity in there. Of £200,000 in cash and 200,000 in a Vanguard stocks and shares ISA. And the plan then is to buy a £200,000 40-foot catamaran and have it moored in Gibraltar Harbour, and the wife and I are going to sail the Mediterranean like pirates, drinking rum and ice cream.
Hey.
And of course, I won't stop there. So what do you do? And I know it's going to be hugely disappointing when I get my yacht, because when I've worked all this time, got through the suck, and I've sat in my yacht, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull it up the nearest harbour, and I'm going to look across, and I'm going to say, "Oh, look, a bar!" And we'll just go to the bar, and then go back doing what we used to do. Except I'll be looking at my yacht in the harbour now. So, and I think then I'll just keep on. So I'll be 67 years old. Let's hopefully, my dad died at 87 last year. So I might get another 20 years out of it. And so I think I just keep on buying the properties and adding to the income for my kids, then bring them into the 2 girls into the business and show them how to do it, so that hopefully they can do it to their children as well. And of course, I'm making these videos all the way, every step of the way, so that anyone who wants to copy it, and I'm just a working class lad, nothing special, I've got no skills, no qualifications, but you can watch me, what I've done so far, and watch me become a millionaire in 10 years, and you can follow it step by step and do the same yourself.
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to put the time in, as long as you're willing to make the sacrifice, and as long as you're willing to work. That's all that's required.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I love watching your stuff, actually, because you are doing it and you're showing everybody that it can be done. But there's the 2 things that I'd like to say about what you've just described, that another book that I've just listened to is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And people always say, what does success look like? So obviously, you bought on Gibraltar drinking cocktails. Well, most people find that when they get to these places, it's a bit of an anticlimax. So actually what success looks like is the process. So it's the process of how you got to that point, so that you can maintain the process after that point. And
you need a series of goals, don't you?
Yeah.
You're exactly right. Just as my journey to £1 million is a series, it's 20 goals to buy 1 property at a time. So when you get to that yacht or you get to that 20, you then need another goal to motivate you and get up in the morning.
Yeah, and your goals change.
So yeah, absolutely, and so then that's what keeps you going. So what you're trying to do is fill the time between the maternity ward and the crematorium with as much fun as possible, because that's the game, you know. I mean,
From the velvet curtains to the burner.
Yeah, yeah. I'd generally love to believe that there's an afterlife, but there's absolutely no evidence of it, sadly, because I'd love to believe that. So if that is the truth, and I'm not knocking anybody who does believe, that's fine. I wish I had their faith. But if that is the truth, then we only get one shot at it. Then don't you owe it to yourself to cram as much fun in there and achieve as much as you can and experience as much as you can, because there'll come a time when it's all gone and there's nothing you can do about it. So you may as well just have some fun while you're here.
We take ourselves too seriously as well. I mean, if you think about it, you see these satellite images of Earth from billions of miles away or wherever they are, and we're a tiny bit of fly shit on the map in the middle of a massive galaxies and stars, and you know, so you can't even see us. And everybody that you've ever known, everything you've ever done, everybody that's ever lived is on that thing that you can't see that's so far away. Yeah. And in another few hundred trips around the sun, everything that you've ever done will be forgotten about. So what does it matter?
Absolutely. Here's the other thing. So yeah, you're right. I mean, you know, the guys who built the pyramids, where are they now? They're gone. You know, they've left. But what they've done, they've left a bit of a legacy here. So somebody said to me again, I've nicked this from somebody else. You actually die twice. You die when you physically breathe your last breath and your brain stops working, and the second time you die is when the last person who knew you dies, and then you're gone forever because nobody remembers you. So maybe then, therefore, rather like the pyramid builders, you need to think about what is your legacy going to be. Now, to most people who haven't got a pot to piss in, think, well, hang on, you're talking about my legacy here, and I haven't got any money yet. I want to get started first. So, but it's one of the philosophical things you deal with when you get further down that road. And I know I'm only sort of 3 properties into my 20, but it does make me think, because I'm only 7 years away from my goal. What are you going to do? What are you going to do for your family? Are you just going to spend all the money, or you're going to donate it to build a library, or you know, something that's going to be there after the last person who remembers you dies? Because then, if you want to try and build something that keeps you living forever, in the form of as I said, a library or whatever you want to do, you know, it's a legacy thing. You set up a foundation for some underprivileged child with all your money, rather than just drinking yourself to death with it too. But it's stuff to think about further down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to think that far ahead as well. Once you get going, once you've kind of got on the right path and wheels are in motion, then you have to look towards the future. So I mean, for us, it is we want to get to a point where there's enough money for generations in an ideal, and you've got to have big goals. No point in having you need small goals to get along the road, but to the end destination,
a big goal,
you've got to have
a big goal to motivate you, isn't it?
Yeah, and don't be afraid to dream big either. So so for me, it's enough money for generational wealth for our kids, so that they've got, and their kids don't ever have to, you know, suffer, or not suffer, but struggle, which is probably, I don't really like it. I like the idea of it.
I know,
but you've got to have some hardship in order to actually have a bit of resilience about you. But so there's that, and then anything after that, once income isn't really relevant and all the rest of it, anything after that will be in order to generate a fund to go towards leaving a legacy, which whether that's opening a boxing gym for the local lads or whatever to keep them off street corners, who knows what it is.
That's it. That's it. But something about money tends to go by the 3rd generation. That is to say that, let's say you and I make a pile of money and we leave it to our kids. The mistake is not teaching your kids or bringing your kids with you on the journey. So once you die, they get their money, and because they didn't know how you made the money, they won't know what to do with the money when it comes, and they'll spend it, and maybe not spend it all over their lifetime. So there might be some left for their kids, but because they didn't know how you make it, they can't tell their kids how to make it. So by the time the 3rd generation, their children, your grandchildren, get the money, it's all gone. So it's important, I think, to bring your children with you on the journey. Now, mine aren't just yet, but what the being sued for damages did to me was, I need to, as I said earlier, I need to buy properties in a limited company, and I'm then going to put my two daughters into the limited company as well as not as directors but as shareholders, so they can inherit the door easier when I die, but also so we can have board meetings and talk through the philosophy of why I'm doing this stuff and why they ought to do it, so that when I eventually go, they can run it themselves and they know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's essential, I think. And again, but the thing is, this is what you'll find. Well, what I'm finding with our kids, they don't want to know. They're more bothered about, you know, ridding the oceans of plastic than they are about getting rich. I don't want to know about getting rich. I
Yeah,
want to
you know,
feed the whales or whatever.
but as I say to everybody, you know, people say when you're trying to tell people what you do now, well, money isn't everything. No, money isn't everything. Absolutely right. But money touches everything you value. It affects everything you value.
Mm,
If you want to clean up the oceans, you can do it much easier if you're Elon Musk and you've got billions of pounds.
mm.
If you want to stop the poor from starving to death, you can do that with money. You need money to. Money affects everything. It's not underestimated. Maybe it is underestimated by a lot of people, but it's value, not just in terms of pounds, shillings, and pence, but what you can do as a tool with money.
Yeah.
You can do so much good with the money, so much better than you got nothing. You can't help the poor by being poor yourself.
No,
You generally can't. The best way
no.
to help the poor is to get wealthy yourself and then help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So just finally, what you mentioned that you fancy service accommodation. What I would say
Yeah.
is a lot of people say to me that you'll underestimate what you can do in you'll overestimate what you can do in a year, but you'll underestimate what you can do in 5 years. So in your wildest dreams, how would you like your Stupid as the Norm channel and everything that you're doing, how would you like it to move forward over the next 5 or 10 years?
We've got some bolt-ons coming up. I'm not a big. I'm not actually. I tell people I'm not a YouTuber, because I'm just a cab driver who's demonstrating how to become a millionaire, and I'm filming it and putting that on YouTube. So you won't get all the bells and whistles and and sort of videos you'll get on other more successful YouTube channels. I'm just a bloke who's making £1 million, and I think it'll probably stay that way because it's who I am. But I do get called lots of times for mentoring. So I have a calendar. I don't know if you use a Calendly account.
I've seen them, but I don't have one myself.
So I've got a Calendly account where if people want to book in an hour's time, it allows you to diary and you book in an hour's time, and they pay to do that. So they want to spend an hour with me, but I'm telling people you don't need to spend an hour with me. Just watch all the videos and do what I do. But if some people, say, well, I've got a few questions. If they want to question me, just send me an email. I'll answer it free of charge. But I'd really like some time with you. Okay, if you're going to want some time with me, I've got to give up my time. I'm going to charge you for it. So you can book yourself a Calendly meeting there. It's not inexpensive, but there is a cost to it. I'd love to get to do a course. I know everybody's flogging courses now, but it's just because I get asked for it so often. I'd love to do a course that is a step by step. And again, you don't need to do the course; you just have to watch the videos and you'll learn how to do it. But again, some people like it more structured. Write the number here, do this, tick this box, and do that. So maybe it's next year I'll do that. Maybe not. I have no strong feelings on that unless people want it. I'd like to get to we're just shy of 4,000 subs now. I'd obviously like to get that higher because what happens is YouTube pay you. I don't mind sharing with your viewers that at 4,000 subs we get somewhere between 50 and 80 pounds a month from YouTube. I don't have any affiliate links. I don't push stuff for people, recommend stuff for people to buy because I don't buy it. So I couldn't hand on heart recommend you buy it if I didn't buy it. So I restrict my income that way, but that's just because an honesty thing, if you wish. You get lots of YouTubers pushing stuff, and don't get the link below, and you'll get a free share and up to £500. And then I'll get it. I can't be chewed with all that, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah,
I'm too busy making $1 million than trying to chip people that way, and it's not necessary.
Yeah. Have you thought about Patreon?
I haven't, and I don't know an awful lot about it. And again, you know, it's appeal to. Have you tried? I've got a Facebook page and an Instagram page, but you know, how much time you got to do all this bloody stuff? And I don't know. I must look at Patreon. You're right. I have had
Yeah,
a mention to me before.
yeah. Well, I'm sure you know that basically for people that appreciate your content and would like to donate, you know, there's what there's different tiers of membership. So you might set a tier of just £3. So buy me a coffee a month if you like my channel. And you know, you don't, you know, say you get 1,000 people that give you
It adds
£3
up,
a
doesn't
month.
it?
Yeah,
It
then
adds up.
yeah, well, it really does, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
it's
Do you
just
do it?
I don't know, but
I just can't get over here. If you enjoy this coffee, if you enjoy this video, buy me a coffee.
no, well, you do. It is a bit cringy.
I'm
It
not
is
sure
a bit.
my reaction would be to that. Let's see,
Yeah,
delete, you know?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Unsubscribe.
yeah.
Yeah, I
But
don't know.
people
But I'm a
do.
cynic. Yeah, they do. I've seen other people do it, but I don't. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but
like when you put it. It's like on Facebook. You know, when you go see guys on Facebook and they say, "Most of my friends will just delete this." Delete. You know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, most of my friends won't read to the end. Swipe up, not watching.
yeah. Well, yeah,
Loser. I'm not
absolutely.
doing it.
But the thing, but I think that it's part and parcel of the content culture now that these people are having to try and get into producing content, and they don't get paid for it. And a lot of them are putting all their eggs in that basket and trying the best. So lots of people use Patreon, so it's quite well accepted.
Yeah.
And you've got lots of people that do like your stuff. And I dare say, if you had a Patreon, I'd buy you a coffee a month because I really do like the content and I think it's worth something,
Thank you.
even if it's just to say, yeah, well done, you know.
Sure, man, thank you.
And if you had 100 or 1,000 people like me, you'd be you'd get there a lot quicker, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm being too cynical. That's what it
Well,
is.
I don't know about that. It just sprung to my mind there where you were talking
Yeah.
about stuff that you were thinking of doing, because it's some people do emotionally engage with the stuff that certain content makers produce, and that
Yeah.
emotional connection means something, and you can monetize it, you know. So
No, it's absolutely true. I get so many comments on and if you check my videos are compared to other big YouTubers, you know, they're 70 and 80,000. I get far more comments on mine than
right,
they do in terms of percentages. And they're so nice, the comments. Well, and sometimes I'm knocking a video out because I'm trying to think of another way to say the same thing another 50 times, because it's essentially the way you can become wealthy is just spend less than you earn and invest the balance. And it's trying to find 52 different ways of saying that every year in
yeah.
such a way that it touches someone different to the way they said it last week.
Is that why
And
the videos
sometimes,
are only 3 or 4 minutes?
yeah, well, I call them toilet videos. There's just no time when you sat down the toilet to do your business, they can watch one, you know.
I could do a
Also,
full year the time it takes me. I
well,
can
there we
assure
are,
you.
and all, yeah, and honestly, I've got the attention span on that as well, because I hate doing the videos, and so I get a 4 minutes. And here's the thing: if you see one of my videos and I stumble over a word, say, well, before you say it's unprofessional, know that I have done that video 3 times, and when I stumble over it the 3rd time, it's staying in because I'm not doing it again. So the 4 minutes long, and that's it. Not great. And the bites, I haven't got the patience to do more than 4 minutes.
Not got the patience nor the content.
No. At least I'm honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Keeping it real. Brilliant. I think that's a fantastic place to end. Unless you've got other things that you want to,
No, it's fine.
the
It's been an
messages you need to
absolute
get out
pleasure.
there.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
We should meet up. We're only about 40 miles from each other.
We absolutely should. I would love to.
If you can buy me that coffee.
Yes, I will. Yeah, it's a date.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. So once again, thank you very much, Perry. And you can find Perry at Stupid as the Norm on YouTube, Stupid as the Norm on Instagram, Stupid as the Norm on Facebook.
We're everywhere.
Why Stupid as the Norm? I think I know the answer, but why?
Well, it's do you follow Dave Ramsey? Do you know
No.
Dave Ramsey? Dave Ramsey is a big American YouTuber, but he's got TV show and everything, radio show. and he's a complete zealot when it comes to paying off debt, including your mortgage as well, which I'm not. You know, I have a level of debt that I'm comfortable with. So I'm unlike him. I don't overpay my mortgage and such like. So anyway, he's got a radio show, and somebody calls in one time and says, "Hi Dave, I'm considering doing this." And he says, "Well, you know why you did that?" And they say, "No." He says, "Because you're stupid." He says, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, you're stupid." He said, "But don't feel bad about that." He said, "When it comes to finances, most people are stupid. In fact, when it comes to finances, stupid is the norm." And when he said that, I went, "Stupid is the norm." Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. So again, you see, I nicked that as well. It's something else that wasn't original.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have known unless you'd have told me. I mean, yeah, fantastic. So there we go. Thank you very much, Perry.
You're very welcome,
Pleasure
Andrew.
having you.
God bless you, your listeners. Bye-bye now.
See you later.